it wouldn't be nothing, nothing without a woman or girl.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Purpose and passion loading. It's my time. Right now. Happy Friday Eve, fam.
Yes, sir.
It's good to see y'all, man.
Happy Friday.
Been a minute, part of a minute, piece of a minute.
Oh, peace.
Not so Freudian slipped. Tonight is gonna be a good one, man. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
We gotta wait for our Padre to
I thought she was just gonna make a fashionable entrance.
No, she will.
Breeze in. So you know what I mean?
Stay.
At whatever point that may be. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are the King's Cutting Board Podcast. What we are not, however, is clickbait.
Yeah, sure.
What we are not is the typical conversation and dialogue going on out here, specifically around relationships. So we started this podcast to provide emotionally intelligent men's perspective on life, love, and relationships. We wanted to encourage men and women to lean in and listen to each other a lot more often. We wanted to show in our lives, just because it makes the world a better place, man, the power that exists when we love each other out loud.
Sure.
We wanted to model talking to each other instead of just at each other. And in the process, family, unapologetically, we want to create new norms in what Black loves look like and how it's perceived. Very quickly, humbly, my name is Victor Vaughn. The gentleman sitting to my left goes by
Bruce Bailey. Choir boy. I should use my mic. I know that.
and the young lady sitting off camera, that's gonna eventually, I guess, make her way on camera. Our executive producer, the boss of bosses, Eddie Kane, goes by.
You don't say your name.
At least
Diana Bailey, my best friend. She's my BFF, my very best friend, my BFF. Oh, sorry.
No, nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all wrong with that. We just talked about loving her out loud. So if you would, ladies and gentlemen, please.
That sounded so gay, yo. When I just said that, I just thought about how I sounded. I don't like it.
Nah, you good. You good. We're not asking for support. We're real intentional about words around here.
Yeah, for sure.
Something that can't stand on its own requires support. What we will ask that you do is that you help accelerate the success that we believe we're going to have. And you can do that by liking, following, and sharing. On Facebook, you can find us at the King's Cutting Board Podcast. On YouTube, you can find us at the King's Board 2024. So like we said, like, follow, and share. Listen, sometimes our episodes are funny.
For sure.
Sometimes they're really, really serious. We've shed a tear or two. Sometimes it's deep.
Grown men don't cry. Ain't that what they say?
That's what they say. We don't go by that around these parts, though. But they always are specifically with the intention to positively impact and lift life, love, and relationships, especially between Black men and Black women. Tonight's episode is dope.
I definitely, and it stemmed from our last episode, did it not?
I felt like they all kind of tied together. You know what I mean?
That's always.
Well, I mean, one way or the other, but yeah, for sure. It's how we closed out the last episode.
Yeah.
So typically, I teased this evening. I posted out there. Typically, we agree on most things.
Most things we
typically see eye to eye. This one,
I think that's why I felt it's so important that we did it.
So this is going to be really, really good. So tonight's topic, ladies and gentlemen, fact or fiction? All men need is peace
and
a peace.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for introducing me before I came on the podcast. But I am Coach Princess D.
You are.
My husband know me as Diana Bailey, as he said proudly.
My bad.
But what I do want to start out by saying is you really should give a background in terms of why we're here. And what was funny is you all would close out each podcast saying all we want is a piece and a piece. But then after we had a few sessions where we somewhat, I guess, healed and you all became more emotionally intelligent, you then made a comment to say, wait, Bruce, since we're relaunching the podcast, should we continue to close the podcast saying all we want is a piece and a piece?
Yep.
You said, Victor said, nah, I think we should add some things to that because we don't just want a piece and a piece. Victor's now realizing he wanted a little bit more.
A lot more.
But then then Bruce thought about it and said, nah, I'm still good with a piece and a piece. So I
which I
thought
was
that
surprised
ideal-
at, by the way.
Yeah.
Were you?
I was. I mean, listen, you know more than I do, but one of the dopest thing about this is we get to watch each other grow, evolve.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, in real time. And I'll speak to this later. Like one of the things, remember first episode, I was like, no, I don't need anybody.
You did actually.
After tonight,
Did he like cats?
after tonight, I think I could change his mind, babe. We're gonna
get into
We're gonna
it.
see.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
But no, that you're right. So that foundational, that background part puts it all the way in perspective, right? And so as
We're
we
gonna break it down.
we have to, right? So literally, so starting that off, the phrase peace, right, specifically means an internal calm, safety, or emotional rest.
Yeah. And I think that's how we're starting this off. It kind of goes back to something you and I was even talking about today when we was having a conversation, how people have different definitions on what they think certain words mean, or just their take on it, or their experiences behind it. And I think today, it's just based on what you said, and how important it was that you felt we needed to do this particular episode. I think it was right on point.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you said all men want is a piece and a piece, right?
Peace
But-
and a piece.
Exactly. But so often people don't think about what main things will keep them in a good relationship,
Absolutely.
right? And so there may be some people watching saying, nah, they might feel like Victor, I need a little bit more than a piece and a piece.
Yeah.
Then you got a whole
sure.
group of men like,
Sure.
shoot, nah, if I'm good, if I'm
Yeah.
at peace and I get a little piece of that tail,
Yeah.
Mhm.
then I'm good.
Matter of fact, can we do this? All of our audience, let us know, both men and women, what you believe peace is to you.
That's
Right.
good because
What-
peace
what-
can mean so many
It can
different
mean
things.
so many different
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
right? And then you can also tell us priority wise how you think it ranks with, if you're a man, how does it rank for you? If you're a female, how do you think it ranks for men?
And Bruce, that's a very good kickoff. So while they type that up and send us the information, tell us what peace is to you.
So to me, what I've discovered is, just based on even my most recent research,
Mhm.
is that it's actually the number one thing that most real men crave. Peace, right? Why? So let me
But
start.
what is peace though?
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay.
So let me first tell you what peace isn't.
Okay.
And this is
That'll
kind of
help.
where most men, and I mean, when I say most men, I'm absolutely including myself on this, right? This is where we're misguided as it relates to this peace situation. Peace is not silence.
Agreed.
I can't tell you how many times, even myself, I'm like, you know what? Just to keep the peace, I ain't gonna say nothing.
No, that's good.
That's worse.
So many, that's worse.
It is.
Right? But so many men,
Mhm.
based on our experiences, based on what we've been taught, based on even how we felt during those moments, that's what we've lived with.
Mhm.
And now we've been put in a position where, because we've been trained this, self-taught this for so long,
Right.
that's our go-to.
Mhm.
That's the go-to response, right? Peace is also not keeping the peace. I'm sorry, it's not keeping the peace by biting, I should say, your tongue and pretending you're okay when you're emotionally drowning. That's
a
not
war within
peace.
itself. That's the opposite of peace.
And it's silent suffering.
It is, and it presents conflict,
It
which is war.
presents
Yeah.
conflict. So even as I was studying tonight, I said, you know what? I want to do one thing before we actually get into this thing. I want to apologize to my wife. Because again, for so long, I've been operating in this inability, right? To really understand what peace should look like and how to better function in peace, where we really can be at peace. If that makes sense.
That's good.
So I'm gonna tell you what's intriguing me already, right? So what you're saying, so our lack of understanding of things
Facts.
can absolutely prevent us from obtaining the thing.
No
But one
question.
thing he reminded me of, to your point, right? When you say the lack of understanding, right? What hinders couples from understanding? And this is one of the things that we're going through in couples therapy. Guess what it is? Truth and transparency.
Facts.
So all of what we are pretty much complaining about or have issues about is, it's worse when we don't have enough truth and transparency in our relationship, and therefore it leaves him having his perception of what's happening and his understanding based on some factors that I don't even know about, and vice versa. Right. You know, I'm reacting because of certain things in my mind. I'm reacting to what's in my mind based on how I'm perceiving the situation, right? Why? Because there's some parts of what I'm thinking that I never even told him.
So you ask the question, what is peace? Right? Peace is when your inner world, right? Your thoughts, right? Your emotions, your spirit, they aren't constantly clashing with one another.
Bingo.
That's what peace is, bro. Right?
Bingo.
It's when your outer world, your environment, your relationship, your home, right, doesn't feel like a battlefield. That's peace.
Part a little bit.
That's peace, bro.
I think for a lot of people, peace is the absence of conflict, and that's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
For some people, to your point, peace is right. It's just quiet, and it's just leave me alone. But that's not what peace
absolutely
is.
not what it is.
What do you think where you
No, go ahead.
What do you think is the cause of the absence of peace in the home? What is the cause of that?
I think you said the cost or the cause.
Cost.
Wow, so let me get into it, because I actually got you kind of moving a little fast. So the truth is that the absence of peace, right? Here's the cost. It'll cost you focus. It'll cost you enjoyment. It'll cost you creativity. Absolutely. It'll cost an unhealthy environment. It'll even cost you your health. Right?
That's the number one
that's
thing.
The cost of this lack of peace. Right? And that's why it's so critically important that we, one, understand what peace really is. And secondly, how to, as we say about understanding, the divine comprehension in our heart, which gives us the ability to repeat something at will. How do we not just want peace, but how do we become peace?
You flipping it already, because when you came on here, you like, all we want is a piece of the peace, and now you're self-reflecting.
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
You probably throwing Victor all the way off.
No.
I'm messing.
I mean, that's what tends to happen, though. We, even when we start out with different perspectives, we typically we rub off, you know what I mean, on each other and land somewhere in the middle. So keep it going.
Now, and let me just give some statistical data, right? So according to a 2023 survey by the American Psychology Association, over 72% of men report feeling emotionally unsafe in their closest relationships. That's really? Almost that's what 75%?
Absolutely.
What do you think causes a man's emotional insecurity, or what was that you said in that definition?
I said they're feeling emotionally unsafe.
Yeah, unsafe. Okay. So what factors do you think play into a man feeling emotionally unsafe?
That's a loaded question.
Is it? Start somewhere. Take your
Um,
time with it and unload it.
for a lot of men, it's challenging to do something that they've never really done,
Facts.
yet know not to do.
Yep.
Right.
And what I mean by that is we're conditioned oftentimes in a whole lot of ways that just don't lend themselves to us freely understanding,
Mhm.
right? Or having the ability to state what we think, feel, fear, dream about, hope for.
I'm just trying to figure out, why does a man, and most men do, just to your point about when you were closed up and not admitting how you were feeling, right? And some women, if a man don't lean in to try to understand, not even that he always will understand her, but when he try to understand, that makes her feel emotionally secure.
Of course.
So why is it such a challenge for men to lean in to try to at least just understand?
It's the fear of what may be misunderstood and interpreted incorrectly,
That's good.
whereby now we got to deal with more stress and pain and hurt
Yeah.
because we couldn't get out what we wanted to get out
That's
because they
good.
didn't understand. So again, even let me give you another one. 1 in every 3 men say home is not the place where they feel most at peace. Their home.
Yeah.
I can
If you
see that.
can't feel safe at your home,
Mhm.
So remember the what I hit y'all the other day to tell y'all about the analogy, the story about Phil Jackson and the Bulls and how he wanted to play on the road
Oh,
versus
Yep.
be at home.
Yep.
You know, so that's real. Here's another thing that I believe ties directly into this, because you were asking like what prevents men from doing this.
Mhm.
More than anything is us, right? But what I also believe is it's us operating under the false pretense that all we need is peace and a peace. If that's what you tell yourself, you really don't expect that much.
say that again. Say that again.
She was asking what prevents men from leaning in, right?
Mhm.
Or prevents us from feeling safe. What prevents us from opening up?
Mhm.
You have to have something to pour out if you're gonna open up.
Oh, no question.
Right. So some
Gotcha.
historically,
This
a
the
lot
part
of
you about
us
to question what he about to say.
Yeah, a lot of us
Oh.
historically have done ourselves a disservice
Mhm.
by minimizing what it is that we really need. Because here's the
No,
thing,
no,
He's
no,
saying
I
he's
agree.
limiting it though to peace and a peace.
right,
He
and
said most
Well-
men limit it to peace and a peace.
or a
which is
lot of
why-
men do.
I'm gonna let him
But
finish.
here's the thing, because a lot, even the peace that you define for most men is not even that complex.
See,
It's not.
It's the absence. It's just leave me alone, all right? You know, or there's just quiet, or I just don't want to argue, like you said, or I'm gonna just be silent. So for men who buy into all I need is peace, right? And a peace, right? What is it? Feed me, F me, leave me alone, right? A lot of dudes operate off it. If that's all you expect and that's what you're getting,
Mhm.
But I think
or that's all that you're expecting.
right.
Mhm.
No,
You mean-
so I agree with that aspect of it. But here's why I agree with that. Because it's not that they minimize what peace is. It's because they didn't understand and define what peace was or is. Because initially we thinking peace is the absence of conflict.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, now we're learning that's not peace.
Correct.
Right? So when we have now this more robust understanding of what peace really is,
Yeah.
you give me that and we good. Because again, peace is the thing, even from a biblical standpoint,
Mhm.
it's the foundation of everything else.
Yes,
Right.
it is.
It almost has to be, right? But that would put us off in a whole nother deep
It don't
conversation.
all, but it don't
Well,
all. It has to be.
It has to
It
be.
has
Well,
to
when you say the go ahead. Now keep
No, go ahead.
It's cool.
This is the only thing, and I'm glad that Bruce is go heading in the direction he is, and we're not trying to preach or anything.
No,
like that.
not at all.
But as you were talking, right, I'm understanding Bruce, because what he's essentially saying is, too far often people get caught up in trying to understand what peace is or what peace look like.
Right.
But according to the Bible, it said that the peace of God surpasses all understanding, right?
All.
So when we say that we need understanding to have peace, all you need is to accept the peace of God. And it said it will guard your heart. So too often we're so focused on what is peace, what does peace look like? all you have to do is just accept what God allows. And then when you allow that to guard your heart, you don't get caught up emotionally.
Much more than a feeling.
Again, the power to define
It's the power to fulfill.
is the power
Mhm.
to fulfill.
Absolutely.
And if we have this distorted definition of
Yep.
what peace is,
Mhm.
Right. Just like submission that we talked about.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we're operating under what we think it is,
Right.
Mhm.
not what we understand it to be.
Yeah.
Right. So when we have this understanding, we have a totally different, because what I've even learned is that protecting my peace doesn't mean abandoning hers.
That's
Mhm.
good.
You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because and what I want my ladies to understand is that, and I was even having this conversation with Di, is, well, let me talk to the men first. What makes it easier or simpler for your partners to function in this peace is when they have clarity.
Okay.
Right? When she's not concerned about truth and transparency, when she's not concerned about being or feeling protected,
Correct.
Mhm.
right? Those are the things.
For sure.
But on the flip side of that, what the ladies have to understand is that even in these moments where you guys are looking for clarity, you're the byproduct
Right.
of now presenting this environment of peace.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
So because what happens is, when I understand that me protecting my peace is now not abandoning her peace,
Right.
it allows me to be centered.
Getting what I'm okay.
You see, it
Yeah.
allows me to be grounded.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Now, because I'm grounded, guess what she can start to do? She can start to put stuff in that soil,
Mhm.
right? Happiness,
Right.
joy, peace,
Right.
right? The things that are now predicated on how we feel.
Okay.
But if we don't have the foundation of this peace,
Right.
it's hard to have the rest of that, bro.
Oh, I agree completely. All right. So I thought this was about to be a whole disagreement, and we're not disagreeing yet.
I'm glad y'all defining it, because the power to define is the power to
The power
fulfill.
to define is the power to fulfill.
Now, but let's get into
ahead.
real quick some tangible parts of this,
Yep.
right? So I'm gonna ask Victor to address the physical and emotional intimacy needs of a man, because we're not just talking about peace from a holistic perspective,
Facts.
but what about the other side of the piece? What about?
So it's funny,
I
right?
was about to say something
Because
funny, but I
how
ain't
we had this laid out was a lot nicer than now. So I'll just elaborate.
Mhm.
So when we talk about it, is all we need is peace or a peace, and
Mhm.
the a peace,
Mhm.
right, is intimacy, a connection. We talk about it, right? But it's far more than that. It's far more carnal than that, right? We're talking about sex, right? Flat out.
You were scared
So-
to say that? No, this grown up TV.
Absolutely not. I was just reading off the outline, man.
Right.
And then, like I said, that sounded real nice, comparatively speaking. And so, when we talk about, the physical and emotional side of this, right? So, men's need for sex it's a multifaceted thing,
Mhm.
right? It extends beyond basic biological urges, right? And while certainly sex is a natural part of human biology, it also plays a significant role in how we experience intimacy, especially
Mm.
from an emotional standpoint, but
Facts.
also with our relationship health, right? And the feelings of love and appreciation. And so when we break it down from an emotional and a connection standpoint, sex can be a powerful way to men to express their affection and emotional closeness to their
Mhm.
partner.
Yep.
Right? It can create a deep sense of intimacy and vulnerability, allowing men to feel more connected and secure in
Yep.
their relationships.
That's
Facts.
For some men, sex is a primary way of expressing love and feeling love.
Mhm.
And y'all jump if y'all want to speak on any of these at any point. So from a psychological and a biological needs perspective, men's body naturally crave sexual activity.
Yep.
And having sex can be a healthy way to relieve that natural drive. Sex is a way for men to release stress and tension, absolute facts. And it can also improve their physical health.
Let me share
Wow.
something. What
I thought it declines it.
CDC reports that stress-related conditions, high blood pressure,
Mhm.
heart disease,
Mhm.
insomnia, are disproportionately high in men who report chronic emotional stress.
Wow.
And sex is one of the ultimate for men
Absolutely.
stress relievers.
No doubt about it.
Even even for men. So when we talk about
Dang,
this
that's
piece and
probably
the
why
piece-
P. Diddy hair so great. He
Powerful.
probably had no
wow,
stress.
Wow.
okay,
All the time his hair was black. He probably had
Wow.
no stress.
your timing is terrible.
I just wanted to throw that out
That's
there
how
because
you
it's
feeling?
one of my marketing.
So
Because no, seriously, 'cause
Cause I-
if you think, because for real, if you think about men, right, a lot it's taboo. Like when we think about men, we think pervert sometimes. You know, all they think about is sex. That's all is on your mind. And I know one time that my prior pastor, she even said, she told the ladies, all men wanted to do is hump.
yeah,
And you know, some people like, what you mean all men want to do is hump? Why he don't love me? Well, that is the way he connects to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's a form of affection.
He's releasing tension.
Yeah, but why is that a bad thing? I
It's
guess
absolutely
and
not.
I just need y'all to address that taboo. You know, realistically, if most women, if they ask a man, is that all you with me for is because of sex? And he say, yeah, that would be a whole problem.
It should be a problem because I'm not just with you for sex. Because even when we talk about this peace thing, right?
Mhm. And that goes back to
When
what Victor said.
Yeah. So this when we talk about peace and then a piece,
Yeah.
the a piece is like for a man the equivalent of a band-aid on a large hole in your leg that you got hitting the pole versus you having gotten stitches for that same
Right.
thing.
You got to break that down to me.
Yeah.
I'm
So
still processing that.
So while getting a piece assists momentarily, it's only temporary.
Okay.
It doesn't fix the problem. It patches the problem. When you get stitches, you're healing the problem.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying? You're closing up a wound.
So it's a patch.
You can't close up a wound with a band-aid.
Right. So
I'm feeling like
so
Victor today because he be having a lot of these.
And I actually see what you're saying because sometimes women try to use sex
Absolutely.
as a
Often.
permanent fix.
Yes.
And a gift or you know.
And
and
the whole reward.
and
Yeah.
a part of okay, you ain't getting it because blah 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 blah. What?
Mm.
So now you putting even more
Reframing.
stress.
We added a scripture
You-
about that. You might need to read that scripture.
You
It's in the
read it.
Bible. You shouldn't even be saying no to sex.
You shouldn't be saying no to sex. This your man.
Hold on, let me find that scripture.
This your man. So I just want y'all to understand how important this is. While she's doing that, I'm actually going to read.
I found it.
I'm gonna read something real quick, and then I want to touch on the scripture real quick.
Okay.
And we're not preaching.
You
we
want me
just
to read the
We gotta
scripture
finish
first?
up
Go ahead,
this
read
list
it
too.
first. Read
Okay,
it
so
first.
here's the scripture, 1 Corinthians 7:5, and you can look it up for your own reference. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, so that Satan does not
Consent.
tempt you. Hold on. So that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So when we talk about do not deprive one another
Wait, are these
except
your words?
no, it's in the
You
Bible.
making this up?
It's in the Bible.
You got this from somebody else?
Nuh-uh, but
Your mama
I just want to
told you this.
clarify the consent for a time because we had a study in this, and there are other scriptures in the Bible that said a man is not supposed to touch a woman when she's on her cycle.
Right.
So that's the only time you really supposed to say, "Hey, we
Yeah.
can't do this right now."
Yeah. It's amazing because again, I've just been doing research, for a period of time to try to get more into this whole peace thing and why it's so critically important. Like it is
need a fan.
what I found. It's literally, I agree. It's the number one thing that men actually want. Or need, I should say. Actually, that's a need for a man, right? There's a book that's called. It's talked about wants and needs. I can't recall the name of the book, but I got it.
I remember that.
Yeah, but it's a real powerful book. But here's what the Harvard Study of Adult Development says. It says, which followed men for over 80 years, found that, they followed men for over 80 years, found that emotional safety in intimate relationships was one of the strongest predictors of long-term life satisfaction and health.
Wow.
That's good.
That's crazy.
So we gotta hump until we like 100.
Listen to me.
No,
You know what I mean?
Here's what I will say, right?
I be
Because
emotionally stable, man. Keep that peace, doc.
for most women in a healthy relationship, her being that consensual, her being that willing a participant is going to involve feeling safe,
Facts.
feeling loved,
Yeah.
appreciated,
Which is different from
valued,
men.
absolutely positively. But what I would suggest for a man to ultimately provide that, to be that, he's going to have to come to a realization that he needs a hell of a lot more than just peace and a piece from her.
So Bruce and I talked about this once before when we talked about a piece.
Me and Victor don't agree, y'all.
Peace and a piece, right? And y'all do agree, I think, but you're saying it two different ways, right? Because when Victor says that is not all you need, he throwing other factors, but in your mind, those other factors still
So you
relate
saying
to
we saying the
peace.
same thing, but because
because if you say, let's just say, name one other thing outside of peace and the peace that you need.
hold on, before I do that,
Okay.
right? I'm gonna throw a quick. I can find peace in a piece. You're gonna disagree with me because of how much context you put on it at any strip club.
You can, but it's a sustainable.
But that's not what we're saying. You
asked what we said.
I want to ask what's wrong
on.
against somebody in a strip club.
No.
Powerful.
No.
I'm just saying.
No, what I'm saying is, from my perspective, peace and a piece is a very low bar as far as a standard in terms of what I'm looking
Which is why I need you to answer my question.
Yeah, we definitely
we're gonna tackle it.
All right.
Let's not say no.
So what outside of peace and a piece do you need in your relationship?
You should have came prepared.
Oh, but I did though.
Okay.
Partnership.
Okay, pause.
Are you gonna tie it back in? Go ahead. I'm waiting.
Yeah, because if I didn't,
I'm with you.
Bruce, if I didn't offer you partnership, right? Are you at peace?
Yes. If you did not,
if I did not,
heck no.
Right. So he's saying those things, whatever piece.
No,
that's why you were saying we were saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
However,
he's starting it all.
However, the power to define. Well, so
power to fulfill.
So we have to lay it out, right? So you can lump all of this stuff in, but they're individual traits and characteristics. So I'll keep going. I said partnership, balance,
peace.
No,
go ahead. Don't mind.
Right.
Don't mind.
Yeah, just keep going. Don't mind us.
Genuine interest in my interests.
Because if it's not, you're not at peace. Peace.
Intellectual stimulation.
Peace. I was just about to say that too.
Humor.
Peace.
Sensuality.
Peace. Peace.
Sexuality.
Peace. Whatever the Lord says, peace.
A commitment to learn to
learn. Lord, peace.
So listen. So if y'all want to say you still have to understand that each one of those things. So there's a lot.
Yeah, but they look different for each.
They might roll up.
Right.
They look
absolutely.
So most of the time on this podcast, we're really drilling it down to principle, right? We don't disagree that those things are not what's needed in a relationship. What we're ultimately saying is that you just named your piece.
Let me ask you this. Even in all those things,
right?
If you had peace and didn't have one of them, would you still be okay?
That's good. That's good, Bruce, because you can't take out peace.
You can't take out peace from any of those.
Preach, man of God.
I'm never going to disagree with that.
It's offering time.
Let me change from one pocket to the other. I can pay myself off.
Lock the door.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm simply saying I think we do ourselves a disservice.
You just want to make sure everybody's clear on.
Yeah,
got you. Yeah, that's fair. Because you often correct me with that as well. We're saying, hey, I know what you're saying, but make sure they understand.
Well, I'm glad he said
And-
that because it's
and-
bringing clarity.
And
Facts.
I believe that you could have all of these things, but still not experience peace. And I also
That's what he's
believe,
saying.
But that's what I'm saying.
and I also believe you could experience peace, but not get all of these things.
But do you have a good relationship without peace? That's my question.
no.
And you can't, if you take
you
peace
can-
out of those things, so that's why you can't compare those things and add peace to
I'm
that
going to
list.
disagree with that. Some people unfortunately function in dysfunction,
But that's not peace, though. Again,
but that's relative to
We're
you and
saying
your
a relationship,
experience.
though.
You just said, can people have a good relationship without peace? You actually people have that have an oppositional type relationship where they literally arguing
But it's
all the time, and that's
conflict.
I'm not disagreeing with.
that's
And it's
not peace.
and that doesn't find relationship. That's not a relationship.
And that's not.
can't
It's a
say that.
dysfunctional.
It's
Relationship.
right, but it's
But
not
it's-
peace.
I'm
It's
not-
a dysfunctional
okay,
I'm
relationship.
okay, semantics.
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
semantics.
but that's. I'm simply saying. You said
Y'all chime
you
in,
have
please.
a successful
chime in.
relationship
Mhm.
without peace.
It's not successful.
You have a bunch
It's
of
an
people.
unsuccessful relationship.
All I'm saying to you is right now, I guarantee you have people that have been laying beside each other for the last 20 years who do not have peace in their household.
I don't disagree with that.
Definitely not.
But a successful relationship, they're co-parenting, their kids are successful, they're paying the mortgage, they're paying the bills.
If there's
and hold,
conflict,
and watch this. The whole time, guess what they doing? Sleeping with somebody else.
yeah, that's not a
Potential.
that's not a
Inbox in
successful
somebody else's
relationship.
inbox.
I'm not
Outside,
Listen,
sitting in
listen,
their parking lot
listen.
because they don't want to go inside.
listen, I'm not gonna disagree with anything that you're saying. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, it's all relative. It's all relative.
No,
which
no.
is-
That's why I disagree. I think it's all functional.
Mhm,
I get what you're saying.
mhm.
So what I'm saying is for us to state what is successful for the next person or the next couple is never. gonna be.
But that's the thing. We're not talking about what's success
That was the question she asked.
because
She said,
success
"Can you
looks
have
different.
a successful relationship without peace?" And that's all I was speaking. to.
So
I'm still staying with what I'm feeling because he's describing because it's a matter of
Right.
semantics, right? And what he's describing, like when we use the term
I'm agreeing
dysfunctional
with this one. This time.
relationship, right?
Yep.
He's saying it's still a relationship because it ends with dysfunction. Well, no, if I'm saying, can you have a successful relationship and have conflict? And he's saying yes, I said no, because that's a
You said to not have
unsuccessful,
peace.
right? But that's an unsuccessful relationship.
Okay.
And although the N word is relationship, it's still the opposite of what we're saying. So what we're essentially trying to drive on this platform is that men do want peace in the relationship. That's a major portion of a relationship is a man being at peace. And guess what? Whatever that list should look like, because you just talked about what you need out of a relationship, and that
Right.
will look different for each person.
Right.
But what I'm ultimately saying is, if there's conflict, if you're fighting, if you're doing this, that's a dysfunctional
watch this.
relationship.
you cannot have a truly successful relationship without peace. You can have longevity.
You can.
You can have survival.
Mhm.
You can even have good moments,
Mhm.
right? But not a successful, in the deepest sense of what we're talking about,
Mm.
relationship.
I need you to know I'm not disagreeing with you, brother.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
I'm simply
All
saying
right.
What I would suggest to you is by that standard, then most relationships are unsuccessful. And that could just be what it is.
That's
What-
exactly what it is. But
I mean-
again,
what
it's,
you basing
it's
that upon,
subjective.
though? It is.
It's subjective based on
That's
the
why I
person.
said it's relative.
Right.
So
But what I don't want, here's where you losing me personally. I'm just
Okay.
gonna say me, right? Because when you say we shouldn't just minimize peace, or that shouldn't be the threshold, like you saying you need way more than peace,
Mhm.
I'm absolutely saying I need more.
right? And I'm saying you
Peace is
don't
hierarchy,
need peace.
yeah.
You don't need more than peace. You need peace for everything else to function properly.
Yep, because
I'm not
guards are
disagreeing
hard.
with that. Okay. You're
But we
peace-
good there.
but so okay, so then truly the peace
We
is all
good
you
there.
need.
I'm not, again, peace.
A lot fall under peace. Is what-
Peace,
okay.
peace is the very foundation of what you need.
I absolutely
So
have-
when we say all you need is a
Yes.
peace, we're not saying all you need is a peace. We're saying
but
what you principally need
bro,
as the
what I'm
foundation for
saying-
everything else is peace.
what I'm saying
But then he said in the extra piece though, because if Imagine being in a relationship where you just at peace, but you ain't getting a peace, right?
Oh man.
You might love that person and be in it and love them,
Yeah.
but then you like feel neglected
Yeah.
because you ain't
But-
helping.
and
That's why you separate.
Which is why I'm saying it's important for us. I know you. I'm gonna jump. You can jump in right here. I know it's important. That's why I say it's important for us to help people understand what this peace is, right? Because everybody has their own interpretation of peace,
Right.
their own definition of peace.
Just like love.
So just like love.
Yeah.
So we need to spell this thing out. So now they'll know what to look for.
What I'm saying to you is, you one of one out here, homie. And that when most men say, I just want peace, they're not talking about what you're talking about.
Which is why we here.
A lot of them are talking about feeling left the hell alone.
Facts.
So what I'm saying to you
That's
is,
a good point.
It is.
right. And literally, when they're talking about a peace, they're not talking about intimacy. They're not talking about necessarily emotionally connecting and being physically express how I feel about you. They're talking about, let me get this off.
Let me give y'all 3 things. Okay. Here's why peace is non-negotiable for relationships, successful relationships. Number 1, peace is what makes vulnerability possible.
Agreed.
Number 2,
We talked about that last week.
yeah, peace creates the foundation for trust. You just talked about that.
Yeah, trust and
Our therapist also told us that, right? She instructed us about this. Number 3, peace allows love to feel like rest, not labor. And that's why peace is so crucial to successful relationships. So when we talk about this peace that surpasses all understanding, you got to understand, when we try to rely on our own understanding when it comes to peace, it can't hold us up. So just think about peace being a heavy weight, 100-pound weight. And I'm asking you to hold this thing up all day.
Right.
How long are you going to be able to sustain that?
How long?
You follow what I'm saying? So we have to understand what this peace is. We're not talking about how we typically think about peace. We're not talking about what our parents told us or thought peace was. We're talking about what peace actually is.
Yes, Lord.
It in it of itself suggests that we need more.
Powerful. Yes.
So we saying the same thing, even though we saying different things.
I know y'all said the same
right?
thing.
Because
I
I'm
know
still
y'all said the
what
same
you're
thing.
saying is still not what I'm saying, but what you're saying is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It did
Make
not
sense.
make sense.
That happens to me
Y'all were
all the
supposed to
time, though.
catch that.
That
I
happens to me
tried.
all
I
the
promise you I
time.
did, bro.
He agree with what you're saying is essentially what he's saying, but then there's a part of it that he needs us to understand that
Listen.
will make it different.
Listen,
Go
even
ahead.
the complexities and the personalities of God are described in the Bible.
Mhm.
It talks about him being envious. It talks about him being loving. It talks about him being jealous, a protector, a provider.
Mhm.
All of these things, they're nuances, but these are different facets of love that we have to show up in
Mhm.
to unlock in you, which gives us the ability to experience peace.
Yep.
Right.
And if we don't clearly define it and lay it out, no matter how we're saying it, most men ain't gonna get it.
But your list aligns with our outline
It
because
does.
that was your purpose to say what does peace look like, and for you, those are
I
the
see what you
things
just
that
did. I see what you just did. You
You
turned into die. You turned into die tonight. Doc. That's exactly what happened. I see exactly what, did y'all talk about this?
No, what are you talking?
literally,
What are you talking
bro?
about?
Because she always just like, we be on the same page, and she'll throw a curveball. And we like,
and
what?
then you'd be like, oh, I see what you're saying.
You turned into die tonight. I see what just happened.
But in theory, like you're explaining what peace look like to you.
I think he's
not.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
not. I'm not describing what peace looks like.
Right.
I'm identifying
The Kirk.
what
Yeah.
that I need outside of just how I see, experience, and define peace.
I know, but what I'm telling you is that you define what peace look like to you.
I do think that he not necessarily defined, but he brought to our attention what most people would probably think peace is or should look like.
So I'm gonna ask you like a really simple question because we're talking about what do men need.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you experience peace with a woman who doesn't have a good sense of humor?
Could I experience peace?
Yes.
I got some examples. I know he can't.
So again, it's based on her personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if the short answer would be no.
Okay.
for me-
So can I just say this?
Hold on. If we talk about peace, all of those foundational, weighty, divine things that you said peace was,
Mhm.
because every woman out here in the world
Right.
doesn't have a great sense of humor.
I know,
Right.
and that's what I'm trying
So-
to share with you. Like I'm trying to further elaborate on what he's saying. Can I help him for a second?
No,
I just have an example.
let me hear. Let me
I'm-
hear.
Is it
I'm-
line with what?
I am, but
Okay.
hold on, you're gonna jump in, right? It's like double dutch. Just keep the rhythm. You good? You about to be
I
tagged
know,
in
but
a
you're about to
second.
go into the next
I'm
thing.
not. I
Okay.
promise
All
you,
right,
I'm
go
not.
ahead.
If every woman out here in the world doesn't have a great sense of humor,
Mhm.
then that would suggest any woman who doesn't can't provide peace to a man. Hold on, pause it for a second. All I'm saying is that sounds ridiculous to me, right? And I believe that a man could experience the peace that you so gloriously defined with a woman who doesn't have a great sense of humor. What I'm saying for me, in addition to that foundational peace that surpasses all understanding, something that honestly is far more than just a feeling, right? It's something that's either innately there or it's not. I got you, young.
No, I'm
Now-
done.
all
You've
right.
passed it already.
I'm not, because I'm circling back. I'm saying in addition to that piece,
Mhm.
I need a woman who has a great sense of humor.
I would agree with that.
So all I'm saying is there can be a list of other things outside of peace and a piece, right? And humor, you disagree
Well-
with me. Hold on. No, I don't want your wife to beat me up though. Because
No, it's past. I knew you was gonna do that
Really?
because it ain't relate to what you had to say after
All right.
that. It was something that he went back to. So just go ahead.
But no, what I was gonna say is again, I think you're saying exactly what we've already been saying that we've already established.
Okay.
Is that while we have this list of things, you still need peace.
Right.
I agree.
Period.
And for him,
Period.
because you asked him to go back. What question did you ask him initially?
Could I have peace in a relationship without somebody
who
who
didn't have a good
And
sense
when
of
he
humor.
said he would say no, the example would be this because he's already described that if he didn't have a woman with a sense of humor, we could be at an event, right?
Mhm.
His friends are jokesters by nature, right?
Right.
So if
They
he's
go
with a
hard.
woman and everybody at the table laughing, and she just sitting there like she don't see
Right.
it funny, she
Right.
not enjoying herself. That's a sense of chaos for him. That he's not at peace with
I'm-
that feeling.
I'm digging. I got
Right,
it.
but
And
that's
that-
still going back to peace. And you're saying that that'll be ridiculous to say that this could, and then you just describe that you can actually be with somebody who don't have a sense of humor and still be at peace.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's not
No,
what you
I said I
said?
couldn't.
Oh, you
Yeah,
said
he
you
said he
couldn't
couldn't.
even.
I couldn't.
Okay, but you said something about it wouldn't relate to peace.
No, I said that I thought that the notion that a woman who does not necessarily have a great sense of humor
Mhm.
can't provide peace.
no,
the peace
because
they were
again,
talking about
once
for a man.
I establish my peace, now I'm getting into my preferences,
Correct. And that's what I was getting into next. But
which are two solely separate things. So by the time I'm establishing this peace,
Right.
I'm looking for somebody with personality.
Mhm.
I'm looking for somebody with
sure.
money. I'm looking for somebody with looks. I'm looking for that.
For
You know what I mean? So once I get into that, I've already established that she has those preferences.
Right.
Now, how do we harmoniously
Yep.
align in this piece that we both need?
So what
Oh.
you're suggesting, so then go ahead.
no go.
Mm.
This y'all.
Y'all
show.
hilarious right now.
This
Come
y'all
on.
show.
Ladies first. I caught that you were talking. Come on, man. I
No,
took
because
accountability.
I want you
now
to
gonna make me
respond
pay
because
for
I'm
it.
gonna go
Cut it out.
somewhere else. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Boo. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay, well
Powerful.
let me just say this because I'm gonna just say for real, y'all know I ain't no cut cards, but I love where you all are going with this discussion because you all
was
are
good.
being
It was
accountable
better than
and
what
you're
I
bringing
thought.
out truths. But what I want to say is when we talk about all men need is peace and a peace, you all used to say that in such a different tone.
Absolutely.
What you're talking about it
No
tonight.
question.
So
totally was
elaborate on what you meant before, because I'm also thinking about when we used to talk about that, right? We said not every man home is his happy
we
place.
touched on
So,
it. Vic touched on it.
Did. And when we go back to every man's home isn't his happy place, like there may be viewers here right now Like, yes, they can't go home and be who they need to be to
Yeah.
their spouses.
Yeah.
They can't go home and be vulnerable around their women.
Yes.
They can't even go home and not even say nothing without being attacked.
Facts.
So can you all talk about those? Like, how do you mitigate that? Like, speak to those brothers who going through this right now.
You want to take it?
Or speak about how they feel, because maybe there's women who have men like that, and they like, he didn't even say nothing to me when he got in here, but that's probably because he don't feel safe.
It's twofold, right? So as men, we talk a lot, especially on our platform, about accountability and ownership. So first, what I would say is take stock of what, if anything, that you've done or are doing to contribute to the lack of peace that you're experiencing. And if there is something that you have to own, that you have to fix that, right? When we talk about taking on a mantle of being providers, that's a lot of things beyond just paying bills, right? And so what type of peace are you providing? What type of experience are you providing that leans towards a woman feeling safe, right? And opening up? Are you reciprocating, right? Are you actually giving and providing what it is that you say you're looking for?
And what if their responses to all that is
if
yes?
you can check all those boxes,
and they still not at peace.
If you could check all those boxes,
most men think they doing that.
Well, listen, as long as we're not talking about a dysfunctional situation, if you can check all those boxes, then you've provided a situation for a woman that should lead to her saying, listen, I'm not getting what I need from you in this regard.
I would agree with that, because there are, and this is no, hear me when I say this, there are, and I'm not even going to make it, I'm going to make it gender neutral, matter of fact. There are some people who function well in conflict.
That's what
in
you were
chaos.
saying. Yep.
Absolutely.
So ain't no way around peace.
I said this before. Some people are more comfortable in trash versus being with treasure.
But how does a man mitigate that type of situation?
I'm gonna give it to you from this standpoint. Okay. Here's some of the things that I've committed to, that I'm now declaring to make some resolve as it relates to peace, right? Number one, I will no longer confuse compliance with peace.
Yeah.
Right. So if I disagree, I'll speak.
You always do.
Lies. I do now, Cap. But I will say this.
Cap.
And I think everybody has been here before. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I think everybody has been here before, because we don't want conflict.
No,
that's what we've always been taught.
There recently, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So instead of having conflict, I'm gonna keep silent.
Yeah.
Right. But I learned again that that's not the right approach, and I'm doing both of us a disservice when that happens.
No, and creating that environment, right? I absolutely had a situation recently where there's some things she did not say to me, and versus being upset or bothered by it, what I chose to do was own whatever I caused to create a situation in which she didn't feel comfortable saying it, right? So it goes both ways.
Facts.
It has to be that give and take of being willing enough to be vulnerable to say it, but having enough accountability to own why they
I don't want
not.
Before I go to my next one, I don't want them to miss what you said.
Yeah.
Right. Which is being accountable for creating an environment where the other person feels safe to say it.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's even one of the things that we are working hard on.
Because here's what's powerful.
I need a few minutes.
When you say safe to say it, it suggests that they're saying it in a way on which has positive intention. Because you don't think about that when you say you ain't did a deal, or you haven't done, or when you have mean intentions behind it, you don't consider how it might be heard or worry about the other person's safety. So
well, that goes to, that's a great segue. Here's one of the other things that I've committed myself to. I will not abandon myself to keep someone else comfortable. Right? Peace includes us all. If she at peace, I'm good.
Right.
And I know even some of the times we miss it. I know if she believes I'm at peace, she good.
Yeah.
So we got to keep these things in mind. And when you know a person's heart, you never actually question their intent.
Gotcha.
Right? Another thing, I will respond versus reacting.
That's good.
Right? Because emotional explosions destroy the very peace that I say I'm trying to protect.
Absolutely correct.
I'm trying to I say I got you, but I'm exploding.
Yeah.
that means I don't have I lack control in those moments. Period, point blank.
And why we talk about training, because those acts train people what to not say
They build habits
so
bro.
often. Absolutely. Positive.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I will invite my partner into the peace building process. Peace is not a one-man
Partnership.
job. It's a shared mission between the two of us.
Partnership. Facts.
Mhm.
Right. So I want to invite her into what I'm anticipating
Yeah.
for peace.
Facts.
And I want her to feel that she can do the same.
That's good.
Right. Last one. I will routinely check in with myself because unresolved emotions always find a voice.
Yes, it does.
That's a t-shirt.
Yes, it does.
And I'd rather speak them intentionally than let them leak
You preaching tonight,
uncontrolled.
partner.
He is.
Yes. Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what so often happens is, and you know we've been here, we got all these built up emotions. And instead of speaking them intentionally, they leaking uncontentionally.
That's what happens.
So now you just
Yep.
uncontrollably,
No doubt about it.
not understanding that, man, if I were to step back,
Took pause.
right? It's one thing that we learned. I'm gonna hand it off to you. One thing that we just learned, I think it's gonna be so great of a tool for us is to understand when they say, hey, babe, I really don't have the capacity right now to do what
Oh,
we're
yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That way it's a sign for me. Okay, I'm gonna step back.
Going
We
too
need
far.
we need to revisit
Pause.
later.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So when you start to operate, that's what peace looks like.
Mhm.
It
You
is.
want no conflict?
We saying the same thing without saying the same
Y'all
thing.
are. And
Woo!
y'all made me so proud because I know earlier today I was saying there was gonna be shots fired because you guys came in with a whole different perspective than what you all had
I did.
before.
I ain't even gonna
with
lie.
Demand peace. But you know what? That's why I made the comment in the chat saying that it's very therapeutic when we're on this podcast because while we're thinking one thing as we study, it shifts our thoughts, not just our thoughts, but our behaviors. You know,
Yeah.
we gain additional knowledge because based on my notes, I kept hearing how you all were saying it before, like all you need is a piece in a piece.
Mhm.
But initially, I started to say, you know, I was thinking, how should a woman posture herself to give a man what he needs when it's just piece by piece, right? And then it all drills back to, well, what is that man doing to protect her? Because, you know, we hear men say all the time, I want a piece in a piece. And then often on that second piece where it's saying, I want a piece in a piece, men become territorial over a body that's not even theirs. And so I just started thinking about like some women deny themselves with sex because they don't feel protected. And you said that and you touched that.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't
Absolutely.
feel secure in a relationship,
Absolutely.
but then you want to violate me and you want me to give up my body.
Yeah.
And not just that, I even think about, because when I heard a piece, I was like, well, what does a woman need? And I said, we want protection. Y'all talking about the piece our body, but we saying when we say we need a piece, we looking at the man holistically
I know what
because
the
we
book is
need
called.
him to serve as the protector.
Book is called His Needs, Her Needs.
I heard that before. And then
Pick
one
that book
other
up.
thing that I want to
Bless
point
your
out,
life.
it will. Did we read? We had that was recommended somewhere when we were
His
together. I
needs,
think.
her needs. Powerful.
But the thing is, when we think about a man being the protector and the shielder, right? I even took it a step further and started thinking that, like, one of the things that made me fall in love with you is when you asked me to be your wife.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm taking it that
You wanted to
far,
know before that?
I was, but it turned into something different.
Okay. Fair enough.
The very thought, even today, like I said on live, why you thought I was joking, the fact that I'm Mrs. Bailey, that's an honor to me.
Okay. Here we
I'm
go.
not saying it from a perspective that you just big go-go legend.
Oh,
I'm not saying
wow.
it from that perspective.
So
Or that you this big manager at
Wow.
Hood, big
Wow.
man.
Wow.
Okay.
But what I'm ultimately saying is just how much I love you and the intimacy we have to be your wife. That's an honor to me, right? And when I think about how much you love me, that serves as a shield.
You love me.
And then so when we think about a
So
man being a
different.
piece, so many men want their woman to probably react how I react to you, but they not being that protection
And
that a
likewise.
woman needs.
I wrote this down. I think often men and women seek these in reverse order.
Mhm.
For men, it's a piece and peace. For women, it's peace. Then they lean towards a piece, right? And so, to your point, right? A woman in a healthy situation, feeling comfortable, protected, loved, valued, right? Then she's much more willing to give of herself.
Absolutely.
Where men is like, you know,
Man, sex is better for everybody when everybody at peace, bro.
because then you experience intimacy.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's good.
It goes
Victor.
even deeper than
Yeah.
it goes from sex to intimacy for even when a man when he's connected. So, you know, for me, I'd reached a point in life where I told y'all first do no harm.
Mhm.
And for me, I got to the point where I wasn't even willing to just satisfy physical cravings, right? When really, as a man, I desired more than that, because what I was going to do was end up playing with somebody out here who ain't deserve to be played with.
Mhm.
So
That's true. But I started to think about it further too, because when I then feel like Bruce is my protection,
yeah,
guess what? I'm actually using his love for me as a weapon. I'm like, dang, that's good. Because it's almost like when he protects me, I'm gonna protect him, and I make his weight less weighty.
Facts.
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's already given me the security, so I got
Absolutely.
him in wherever I go. When I go to work, it's about how can I impress Bruce? How can I bring
Let
this
me be
back
clear
to
to
the
tie
home?
it back in, though. It's a whole lot of women out here right
Listen.
now that believe that they're giving their man peace and a piece
Mhm.
who don't understand anything that you just said,
Really?
which is
Yes.
a prerequisite for us
Absolutely.
to experience peace,
Absolutely.
which is why I keep saying I
Absolutely.
need it
Yes.
more than just
We
peace
showed
and
you
a
the
piece.
Statistics don't lie. The numbers
But I'm
don't
just
lie.
thinking
People
about
do.
it, and I'm not gonna lie. If and that's why I'm glad we get in therapy. Let me just say that.
Oh man, yes, Lord.
Because there's some insecurities that I had, right? That had nothing to do with Bruce, but often
We talked about
women
this earlier.
will allow the man to take on their past hurts, and therefore don't feel protected by the man when the man is not even one that
Listen,
hurt them.
let me be raw and unclear on what I'm saying to you. What you just said is one of the prerequisites for us to experience the peace that Bruce defined.
Watch
It
this.
is.
It's crazy.
Hold on,
because it
Go ahead.
works
no.
like that.
I'm about to real quick.
I'm just gonna back up what you said.
But be clear, there are a ton of women operating under the pretense
Mhm.
because they give their man sex when he wants it
Mhm.
and cook for him when he needs it,
Yeah, that's
that
not
they're providing peace and a peace, and it's absolutely positive.
There was
falling
a
short of the mark.
2023 study by the American Psychological Association again found that 68% of women
Mhm.
in long-term relationships expect their male partner to manage their emotional stability,
Mm.
while only 36% of those women report actively supporting their partner's emotional needs in return.
But even when you read
That's
that's I'm
an
hearing
expectation
truth.
gap.
Yeah, but I'm hearing truth and transparency still.
Oh, facts.
Because it's almost like when you talk about not trusting our partners, like I said, sometimes women deal with hurts that's unrelated to their partner, but their partner
Often.
getting it all.
Unrelated and unresolved.
Well, there's that, right? And so then guess what? The partner becomes the target, the partner becomes the enemy.
Yeah.
And why? The man don't lean in to try to understand why she's feeling like that, why she got all these fears set up. But honestly, us being open in therapy is probably helping you understand me and why I'm triggered in so many moments.
When I tell you therapy is one of the best decisions both of us has made, both individually
Absolutely.
and as a unit.
Absolutely.
I can't really,
it helps
I
so
can't
much.
emphasize enough how if you telling yourself you don't need therapy,
Woo.
you probably need therapy. No, I'm serious. Because we
I'm
heard
serious
this
too.
today.
It's still funny.
Because a lot of I'm good. I don't need no. You probably need therapy.
Yeah.
The very reason you saying it is the very reason you probably need therapy, and it's not about necessarily you all messed up.
Nope. But that's why they talk themselves out of it, because they think they know what therapy is.
Yeah.
You hear people say you need it, but you don't know what it is until you get
We
it.
always provide our audience with like tools, right? Things to help them be successful to get the things they desire to have.
Yeah.
And I just want to give you your props, man, because it wasn't too long ago.
Yes, Lord.
You hit me up. It's like, you know what I mean? Let's go out, let's sit down, you know what I mean? Have a drink or two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what we were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Therapy. You know what I mean? Not not the stuff that we're going to do to medicate or in an unproductive way.
We got our violence on tape.
address or deal with the situation. And what I said, one of the greatest things that men can have to help them get to this place that we're talking about is a bond with another man capable of actually having those types of conversations with them, right? You know what I mean? It's
and we're not divulging information. Let me say that. We having conversations,
that's
right?
it.
Iron sharpens iron.
Facts.
I don't have a person that I'm gonna tell my wife about other than our therapist.
Make that clear again.
Yeah.
And that's part of that protection piece, because
clear.
I'm safe with Bruce talking to Victor because I know Victor and I know Bruce, and I know that if Bruce go to Victor and talk to him about challenges, it's really like what can I do?
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And furthermore, Victor won't lead him in the wrong direction to be like, man, that handful, I worked with her, I wouldn't even be dealing with her because I know blah 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 blah.
And not need the details. You know what I mean? It's just being about helping each other to love each other out loud, because the iron that is your relationship sharpens mine. I've given y'all props that, and that's why we talked about.
Next day. He be like, dang, I just talked to Bruce about
and let's be clear, you know, we always say this, we're not relationship specialists. We just specialize in our relationship. You know what I'm saying? We discovered that early on that there were some things we needed to put in place. And I'm gonna tell you, if we hadn't had those things early, I don't know how this thing would have worked out later. Because the stuff that we got hit with along the way, when we tell people be like, huh?
Yeah.
I was telling the doctor today as she was checking me out. I said, yeah, I lost my mom in March, lost my dad about a month ago.
Yeah.
I said, then my father-in-law, he died about a month before that.
Yep.
I said, my brother-in-law passed. She was like, wow, are you okay? So people got to understand it's that stuff that you don't even consider.
I agree.
Right? That's coming up in all this conflict because you fail to seek resolution.
Yeah. So can I just read a few of my notes real quick, since y'all didn't let me get into my stuff?
Powerful.
Wow.
Thank you for your permission.
This is grateful.
Bus driver.
So real quick,
shots fired.
I'm gonna just read a few things and then I'm gonna drop the mic. When a man fails to become a woman's protection, when he doesn't cover her spiritually, emotionally, or physically, she begins to feel unsafe, right? And I'm not talking about unsafe from the world. I'm talking about unsafe from even him. She no longer sees him as a shield, but she sees him as a potential source of harm. So even when it comes to that conflict, we're not even always talking about the conflict out there in the world, but there's conflict within the home. And so a woman is not even going to be able to be intimate with a man she feels she has to shield herself from.
Agree.
So now instead of resting in love, she's fighting in fear. She's not just protecting herself from the outsiders, but she's guarding herself from the man who was supposed to guard her. So that fear, the lack of covering, that's a breach of trust. It turns soft women into hard warriors. It turns peacemakers into fighters. Because when a woman doesn't feel protected, she doesn't just withdraw. Guess what she does? She arms herself.
Yep.
So now we in the battle.
Yep.
She then becomes her own defense, not just against the enemy, but against the very man she once loved.
Absolutely.
And that defense, it shows up in arguments, in the distance she shows, and hyper independence. Not because she wants to fight you, but because she had to start fighting for herself. So it ain't even about fighting him. It's about fighting for herself. So that's all I got right there. I'm gonna say this for another episode. Yeah, I got a lot more, but
I wasn't saying it wasn't drop the mic. I'm just saying we just want making sure.
Yep.
We want to rob you of your moment.
I don't have nothing else because y'all actually hit on a lot of what I was going to say. So I do appreciate you all. But one thing I did want to highlight is because when we talk about having that license to use these things as a weapon, marriage is the ultimate key. Because a lot of times we want to commit to people who we're not even married to, and that creates a challenge within itself. Because I had some breakdowns here because if you try to use somebody, if you look to somebody to protect you who don't have a license to do so, you're deputizing yourself. So now you fighting stuff and you don't even have a license to protect that person. So that's all I got.
Yep. So the goal as a man should be to not just want peace, but to become peace. And that's right back to your point,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
all those things
That's good,
will be
babe.
added unto him,
I love you.
right? As a goal, it should be able to really love deeply without losing yourself.
When you
Right.
become it, you experience it. I'm almost by default.
Yeah.
Right. And there might be a process to it, right? If we're honest about it, it's not we're always instantaneous, but I believe there's a recognition, right? So people,
Facts.
right, where you get a witness who there is a certain feeling
Yeah.
that's above and beyond emotion. And that's what I was trying to get at, right? It's either there or it's not.
Yeah. I want a part of my goal is to be able to really serve without resenting serving.
Mm,
Right.
yes, do it, Jesus.
To be able to listen without
It's not always
feeling
easy,
like
man.
I disappeared.
Yeah, it's not always
You
easy.
follow what I'm saying? It's not always easy. But I'll say this: it's never easy, but it's always different.
And it's necessary.
Right? It's
It's
necessary.
necessary.
And what happens is when
glory of the
when
Lord is
start,
upon
when
you.
you start now allowing those things to infiltrate the old things that you learned,
Yep.
you start to set new habits
Yep.
that become second nature.
That reminds me of like love covers a multitude of sin, right? Because it's that
You're hilarious, bro.
The glory of the Lord is upon him tonight.
killing me. You're killing me. It brings me back to like love covers a multitude of sin, right?
Right.
Because if you
Preach.
enter into this place in this space where you just you keep the main thing, right? And you keep things in perspective. And you realize, right, saying this, even if I feel justified in saying it, isn't going to be conducive to getting what I want in the end. So why would I do it to begin with?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
And and that's when you begin to enter not perfect, but peace, right? Because it's not always perfect, but you said before, like, I don't have to ever question her intentions, right? And so it's like Neo in the Matrix when he got it and it clicked.
I knew
Mm.
you was going. I knew you couldn't. I was just waiting.
When he
His
got
analogies.
Yeah.
when he got it and it clicked, remember he stopped running and the bullets were coming towards him. And when he used to duck them, he was just like,
Yeah.
and you kind of reach that space in your understanding of the person and what we're here for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That leads to your point, becoming the peace that you desire to
Yep.
experience.
So before you close, Victor, officially, I'm gonna close right here
Wow.
because I feel like
I don't get to
Coach
close?
D, you do when I walk away.
My fault.
I think I did my work with you guys. I did a great job with you guys on this session.
Your humility honors
You
us.
all have
Yo,
grown
your
tremendously.
ability is crazy, bro.
And that is Coach D signing out. Thank you all today.
That is crazy.
The check will be in the mail. Comment and let them know how well they're growing and how much you love their perspectives. Because when I say, I always use them both, I'm not even gonna lie, as examples. Mostly my husband, and I throw Victor in there every now and then. But even when I'm talking to Bruce, when we talk about upstanding guys, if I had to think about upstanding guys right now, it's these two guys that sit here. So I just want to tell you all, I appreciate you all being on this
God
page,
bless you.
this
Appreciate it.
page, and I'm out.
Before my partner closes, I want all my fellas to know and feel comfortable with knowing that we got some work to do.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? We got some work to do. Ladies, y'all got some work to do to help us, right?
Yeah.
So fellas and ladies, ask yourself this question. What's the price you're paying or your partner is paying for not having peace?
That's good.
Right? And what would it look like for you to stop settling for peace and start building wholeness? Ask yourself those two questions.
I want to tag on real quickly before I say my piece to close. If you think about oftentimes when peace is brokered, like one side has to extend it.
Facts.
One side has to
I like that
initiate
word
the
broker.
process.
That's good. That's good.
One side, one country has to say, you know what, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
It's costing me too much in terms of what my country is able to make. It's costing too many lives, right? Too many deaths. And they say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to not necessarily be the bigger person. I'm just going to be the person to initiate the peace. So don't be afraid to be that person in your relationship if it means enough to
I
you.
got it. Because this is a t-shirt.
Okay.
To broker peace means to initiate, to negotiate, and to facilitate conditions for emotional safety.
That's it. That's
That was good.
no, that is
Broker
absolutely
peace.
it.
I'm getting that stuff. Yeah.
So gentlemen, we talk about accountability. What I'll say is don't seek a peace without checking if peace is present. Intimacy without safety is emptiness.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I say first do no harm, there are plenty of women out there who are okay with just sex. But men, if a woman desires more, don't disturb her to give her less.
That's good. Let's sign off, Doc. Close this out, man.
Man, listen, we appreciate you all tuning in. We don't take it lightly. You could literally be doing anything with your time. The fact that you choose to listen to us is a beautiful blessing. Listen, we just desire to cause men and women to lean in, create a few new norms, love each other out loud, be good to each other, because it's just dope. It makes the world that much more of a better place. So we're going to sign off and say, we kind of.
I'm going to say it.
You going to say it?
That's
Bruce Bailey going to say.
All I need is peace and a peace.
I'm going to say, I absolutely positively need peace and a peace. And I'm grateful that the woman I love has so much more that I need too. With that said, we're going to close it out on behalf of Coach Princess D. We love and appreciate y'all. Remember to like, follow, and share. We'll see y'all next time. Be good to each other. Later.
Peace.
This is a man's world.